Hello, you can all hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So yeah, thanks for making it here today at 9 and nice and early. We've all got a coffee in hand, which is great to see. So yeah, as Chris said, I'm the Director of Digital at David Lloyd. And today I'm going to tell you a bit about some of our digital transformation and touch on some of the ideas and products that we've built and some of the journeys that we've gone on. So before I start, just a bit about David Lloyd. I'm sure probably some of you are a member of David Lloyd, but we've got 133 clubs, 30 of them are in Europe, and we're growing really quickly in Europe at the minute. We've got 750,000 members, which is quite a significant amount. It's actually 1% of the UK are actually members of David Lloyd, so quite a large audience. But for those of you that haven't been to a David Lloyd before, you might just think it's a gym. You just come there like a gym, like a lot of other places. But it's actually quite different. It actually offers quite a big breadth of stuff. And I've just got a quick video just to show you a bit about what David Lloyd's all about, and then that'll lead us into our digital transformation story. Yeah, so David Lloyd's are often found out of town, so they're not often in city centres, which gives us loads of space. People sometimes come there, they spend the whole afternoon there, they bring their kids there. There's some amazing outdoor space for squash and for not squash, but tennis and paddle. Our pools and our spas are really good. People are really getting into the premiumisation of our spas. The outdoor space continues for the spa as well, and of course our gym floor is full of loads of great new kit. We invest a lot in our digital stuff within our signature classes, so our boutique sort of stuff. So that'll be our spin, it'll be our high intensity workouts, it'll be our meditation and yoga. This is actually our new club at Bicester, so if you want to join, let me know. I'll be able to get a discount. So yeah, why I wanted to sort of show that video is to sort of show you the breadth of David Lloyd. You know, we are essentially lots of businesses within businesses, and what I mean by that is our creche network, for example, is the largest creche network in the UK. We teach the most amount of kids in the UK how to swim, how to play tennis, nearly 60,000 kids a year on our tennis programs. And the example I'm going to talk today is actually our restaurant business. Our restaurant business is nearly as big as Wagamama's. So it gives you a sense of the scale and the size. Now what that means is, across the whole entire business, everyone has lots of great ideas, right? Lots of great ideas. Build me an app, can we do this? You know, and it's constant. So what we've done at David Lloyd is we've sort of adapted a model that works quite well for us about how we actually find the sharp problems or the sharp ideas. And I'm going to talk you through our sort of framework for that in a second. So we use 3 steps. So we size it, and I'll talk to you in a minute about how we size it. We look for the ideal customer profile, and that's really important, and I'll give an example of that. And then probably my favorite bit is we'll talk about the zone of benefit. So this model I'm going to show you is actually the same model but slightly adapted that VCs use and founders use to try and find unicorn companies. So it's to try and de-risk your digital transformation and find those sharp problems over lots of good ideas. So let's bring it to life. So size and the opportunity, really simple. It's a classic 2x2. I'm sure you've seen it before from consultants that try and sell you things. So on the bottom, we've got the audience. That's our customers, right? So niche being just 1 or 2 people, everyone being every customer, every team member within David Lloyd. And then we have frequency. How often are they going to use this? Are they going to use it every year, once a year? Are they going to use it every month? Are they going to use it every day? Are they going to use it multiple times a day? Now, if you start to plot your ideas on this, it helps you get a sense. It doesn't mean it's going to be successful, but it gives you an early idea. So I'm just going to put up a few ideas that have come up recently. So let's just pick out one. So kids' parties. Okay, it really only applies to our members who have got kids under 5. So, sorry, the children's department came to us and said, could you build us an app or a digital experience to help book kids' birthday parties? It's something we do at David Lloyd. We do tens of thousands of them a year. It's quite a thing. But the audience is quite small, and it only really happens once a year for that audience. Still could be a great product. The example we're going to talk through today is actually about our restaurant business. So the restaurant team came to us and said, the classic, can you build us an app to help us manage and take more orders for food and drink? And we said, yeah, okay. So first thing we know is, we know from our data, so we've got other data points, we know from our data that 50 to 60% of people who come to David Lloyd actually buy food and drink. So we know that it will address quite a large audience. And we know the people that come in every day, we know the people that come and actually buy food and drink pretty much buy it every time they come. So we've got the nice big audience, and we know they're going to use it lots. So that's good, right, first tick. Next one. So ideal customer profile. This is not rocket science. This is what you guys probably are doing in your digital discoveries. It's your personas, your cohorts. But it's really about digging quite deep on this. So if we'd taken what the business had told us, we probably would have got it quite badly wrong. So they told us it's group exercise people leaving yoga classes, 10, 15 people coming to the restaurant, queuing up, and they're missing out on revenue. Okay, great, that's what it is. But what we actually did is, and I know Bav's in the audience here, one of the guys in our team, we sat in Finchley, which is one of our North London clubs, one of our busiest clubs with 11,000 members. We sat there for 9 days straight for 12 hours a day. And we actually realized when we spoke to these people in the queue, they weren't actually that bothered because it was part of their ritual of finishing a class, standing in the queue, talking to their friends, sitting down and have a coffee. When we dug really deep, we actually found it was actually the families. So it was people there, mums on their own or dads on their own or parents together with their children who are actually like, oh my goodness, if you can build this, we are desperate for it because I've got to stand in the queue with my kids and then I get to the front, they've fallen out. I then don't know the table number, so I've got to go and find the table number. Or then I go back to my table and I've forgotten to get a little Jimmy, what it's called, monkey milkshakes or whatever they are. And before you know it, they were like, yeah, if you could do something that would deliver food to our table, that would be amazing. So we quickly adapted that would be our ideal customer profile. Why did you do this? Again, it's not rocket science. This is to essentially make your MVP quicker and more efficient. You're sort of looking for your target audience, which is great. And it helps you find your next ideal customer after this one. So if you start with the people that are the early adopters, you're more likely to get traction with it. That's kind of what our sort of mentality is. This is actually my favorite bit, the zone of benefit. So what do I mean by zone of benefit? It's kind of like, how much better is this digital app we're going to make for the restaurant? How much better is it going to make the experience for the people who want it? Now, it's quite dry, but think about it in terms of workflows or steps. So a bit like I was giving that example there. So, if you take a family and they get there, they look at the menu, they try and work out what they want, they queue up, one of the kids runs away, they get to the front of the queue, they don't know the table number, they can't find their card, they go back to the table, all those things I gave. There's probably 20 or 30 steps, right? If you can shorten that and essentially save them time, you can make them less frustrated, you can save them money. They're standard things, but what I say to my team when we're thinking through these ideas, when we're doing our product analysis, is what can you do, essentially, to give them a superhuman power? And what I mean by that is just, can you give that family more time back? It's more valuable they're sat with their kids and their family rather than queuing up and going through all that pain. Now, this is a model that is definitely used by unicorn companies. And what they talk about a lot is how much difference does it make? What is the zone of benefit? How much further are you taking it when you build this? Do you need to do it 10%, 20%, 50%? The actual stat out there is if you want something to really succeed, you've got to make it twice as good as the current experience. So you've got to make it 200% better. So if you can make it 200% better, I tell you the most beautiful thing about this is you do not need to worry about them downloading the app or registering for the app or setting up their payment or their card details, because that pain is outweighed by the benefit they're going to get from sitting with their family. So that's the headline on that. Good example is Uber. I won't talk it through now, but if you think about Uber, it's a lot better than it is queuing up in the rain and paying over the odds for a black cab. So I'll give that example a bit later. But yeah, so we've done the three things. So what we've done is we've sized it. We know there's a big audience. We know they're going to use it. We know we're going to start with our families. And we know the zone of benefit is going to be really good. Now, this isn't the only thing we do. Don't get me wrong, because this feels a bit product-y theory. We also have the data science teams. We do return on investment. We look at transaction volumes. We look at average basket spend, all the sort of more normal stuff. But these are the three things we do to quickly identify a product. OK, so we knew we needed to build an app for our restaurant business. And we wanted to start with families and how could we help them. So now we're going to sort of flip into the second half of the project. Now, build versus buy. Now, I wanted to put this up because I don't know how many of you guys in the room are currently, buying SaaS or trying to sell SaaS. But I think it should be called rent because you don't really buy anything these days. You just enter into these long-term rental agreements. And it does sound like I'm going to hate you on SaaS quite a lot for this presentation. But you can guess I went with the build option. And I'm going to talk to you why we went with the build option and some of the pitfalls for it. OK, so why did we go for build? We've got a tech track background. We build our own app already, so we're not completely new to this. We've built stuff before. I think if you don't have an in-house team or a partner to build stuff with, it probably is quite daunting to go and build something of this size and scale. That's actually the app on the right, the finished version. I looked at the market offering. This is only 2 years ago, by the way, guys. And Deliveroo, Just Eat, they were fantastic. But when you went to look at the B2B products that you could integrate with your products, they weren't as good. Does anybody go to a Young's pub in lockdown in COVID and try and order a pint or anything? It was the most painful experience ever, right? And that's what it was like when we were looking at the off-the-shelf products. Some bits were good, some bits were bad, but it wasn't quite what we wanted. And I'll talk a bit about that in a second. We really had to nail the integrations. I think with a lot of the SaaS stuff you buy, they're like, yeah, it'll integrate with this, and yeah, it'll integrate with that. And it will, but you need a very big hammer and a lot of nails. So if you have your own tech, you know your own endpoints, so I can go very technical if you want. You know your own endpoints and you know the stuff you're connecting to, so your stock management systems, your finance systems, etc. Number 4 is really important. I think there's a tipping point, depending on what you're building and how bespoke it is, where actually if you're doing a certain number of transactions, a lot of these SaaS companies charge you on the number of events or the number of UTMs, that kind of stuff. There's a certain point where it actually starts to make sense. And I'll be open and transparent with you about those numbers in a minute. Okay, back to the SaaS thing again. But I think we do use SaaS, by the way, at David Lloyd. We use Amplitude, we use all sorts of stuff, and it's great. But when we wanted to build something that was very bespoke to us, the SaaS model didn't make sense. They were offering one-time discounts, uplift every year, event volume levels, overs, all this kind of stuff, and we can talk about that a bit later on. Data. If you build it yourself, you get to own all the data. It's so powerful. You can load it into your machine learning. You can look at event-driven data, but it's just super powerful, I think. Probably quite an obvious one is you get to own your own roadmap. And it's great when suppliers and SaaS companies are like, oh yeah, we've got a roadmap, it's coming in Q1, it's coming in Q4, and is it really coming is my question always. And you end up getting the same as everybody else, so do you sort of lose a bit of your competitive advantage? So a couple of examples, some are more fun than others. So, we were able to adapt it very quickly. We now can order to sun loungers by the pool. Really cool, unique experience, which I'll come on to in a second. When there was a Natasha's law for allergens, I don't know if many people know about that, but there was an allergen law came through the government. We were very quickly able to react to that and make sure we had member safety at hand within David Lloyd. And at Christmas, we made the app snow, which was quite fun. If you shook the phone, it snowed. Now, it's quite fun, but you never get a SaaS company agreeing to that. So, and then the last one I kind of touched on is customer experience. Yes, it is quite a painful journey building your own app, and I'll mention that in a bit, but you get to integrate it into your current app. You get to make it look and feel exactly the same. You don't have to make them authenticate again. They can use the same card they've already set up to pay for, I don't know, PT lessons. They can get their discounts. So it's all those things can make a great customer experience. And that's one of the reasons we went down with Build, because David Lloyd is a premium offering, right? We couldn't ask them to download another app or a third-party app. It had to feel like it was part of David Lloyd. But what were the lessons learned on this? So, yeah, I'm going to go through a couple of these. So, keep focused. Remember your first audience you're doing is because as soon as you release the first version of the app, someone's like, oh, can I use it for selling protein smoothies to people when they finish a PT class? Or can I use it to sell coffee to the book club? And yes, you can, but let's nail the first one first and let's get it right for those early adopters, because then you get the traction and then, of course, you get the buy-in from the rest of the business. Don't forget operations. They're important. The team members, the chefs, you've got to engage them. We had to work out. Okay, here's a good example, right? We said we sort of didn't talk to them enough, if I'm honest, and we put iPads in the kitchen, right? You don't put iPads in kitchens, right? They can't take the heat. The chefs have got greasy fingers. They're like, all we want is for the ticket to print out and just clip it on, and we just work down the tickets. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should have spoken to you. So we integrated it with the ticket printers, and we were able to do that with our third party, and now they all pop out the printers. So full integration there. This one's a really big one for me, is, if you're going to go on this journey, you need to have the right team and the right supplier. So we've got Emily here as the product owner for the app. She does a great job of managing all the requests and all those types of bits of information that come up. We don't actually have an in-house engineering team, so we actually use a third party called LX. They're actually here today. These guys worked tirelessly on this, and it was much more than They were a supplier, they were a partnership. They cared and loved about the products. I was calling them up on Saturdays saying, we've got huge peak loads, what do we do? But go and have a chat with them later on. I think they're outside. This one, watch out for the wake. This is kind of my own catchphrase, but I'm quite guilty of it. So imagine you're in a boat, and you're sort of going along in your boat, and you look out to sea, and it's nice and calm, right? And your product starts to go a bit faster, and it stays smooth for you in front of you, right? But behind you, you create these massive wakes of basically problems for the rest of the business. So for a while, the finance team wouldn't talk to me, the VAT management team wouldn't talk to me. Yeah, because, you know, it starts to pick up momentum. You've got to be ready to engage with that. And that was one of my biggest lessons learned, if I'm honest. That's probably the biggest one here, is to take the other teams on board, because it would have taken one call from the CFO to go, you're causing too many problems, you're risking our finance and our VAT management, you've got to stop the project. So we had to quickly recover that one. Opportunity cost, again, quite obvious, but what else could you be building rather than buying it off the shelf? Could you be improving your current app? Think about turnaround time. Yes, we can build whatever we want, you know, when we're doing this journey, like I said, but you do have to invest time and money in it. And then this one, total cost of ownership. I don't want it to sound too financing too dry, but I was talking to the guys at Infuser over here today. They help us out as well, so have a chat with them. But the guys at Infuser sort of made a really good point, like, you're not building for day zero. Say this cost 100 grand. It didn't, it cost a lot more, but say it cost 100 grand, you know, it's going to cost you a lot more than 100 grand if you're going to build your own thing. You've got to do your CapEx for continuous improvement year after year, and you've got to have your OpEx to run it. And I'll be totally transparent with you. Just to run this app for hosting infrastructure, monitoring, and the support team, £250,000 a year. So it does not come for free if you build it. So just got to be aware of some of those costs, and I can break that down for anybody that's interested or wants to hear later on. And you've got to have lots of passion to build it, and I'll talk about it at the end. But if you don't have the passion to get these build projects over the line, then you're going to really struggle, if I'm honest. So we went about it, we built the app, and then I thought I'd just tell you a bit about how it's turned out and what the results were of this. So, so if you put a lot of time and money into it, it kind of can pay off. So, you know, we had the audience, we knew they were going to use it, we found our first customer, we expanded it out, and yeah, it has paid off, to be honest. So 33% of orders at David Lloyd, food order and drink orders, are still via the app. That meaning the other sort of 60% are still going to the till. That's quite hard to avoid. We could turn off the till, but we've got to balance that quick experience. Just to set the context for that, the industry standard is less than 3%. I'm not talking about Deliveroo and Just Eat, but like when you sit down in a restaurant or a cafe, only 3 to 5% of restaurants are still doing that today. So to keep that volume going today when COVID's hopefully gone, well, sort of, we're really pleased with that. The members love it. We've actually integrated it into our own app now, but this is the old app score. We got something like over 40,000 reviews, 4.9 on the App Store, and it's now integrated into our own app, which we're really proud of. And then just to sort of show you the scale of how this can sort of take momentum when you get a great idea is we only launched this 2 years ago, and we're really proud to say it's done 8.8 million orders since we launched it. So it's doing 11,000 orders a day, this app, plus the restaurant stuff. So it takes considerable, that's my card failing, by the way. So it does significant volume. But what did this mean for us? And again, I'll try and be open and honest with you. Sort of headline numbers. Based on what we would have gone with, and we still would have been with them if we'd gone down the SaaS route, we're saving about over £1 million a year on SaaS fees. I can tell you about the supplier who's going to offer that and stuff if you're interested. But they wanted a small percentage cut. Nearly all of them wanted a small percentage cut of every transaction. And when you're doing 8.8 million orders, that adds up to quite a lot of money, as you can imagine. And of course, just thinking a bit more commercially, you know, if you have an app rather than people queuing at the till, you have the opportunity to upsell, to cross-sell, to sell them more, to sell them different things they hadn't bought before, to sell the items that are more profitable. So our average basket value is 7 to 8% higher through the digital journey. Now, if you do the maths of 8% and 8.8 million orders, you can work out that's quite a lot of money, and it definitely pays for itself. So we're really, really proud of that. And then, yeah, just finally to wrap up, leave a bit of time for any questions. It's kind of, yeah, if you start by building a really sharp problem, you, like I said, in your digital transformation, I think from our experience, you're likely to de-risk it a lot more. You're likely to get more success, more traction with that first app. And what you're essentially doing is, if you get it right here, you can start to move up into the corner and get more people using it, and you get people using it more regularly. So it's worked for us. Build isn't for everybody. It is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It really is really, really challenging. And you know, as every edge case, everyone's got different phones, iPhones, iOS versions, internet, all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot to think about, a lot of data compliance, a lot of privacy stuff we had to consider. So you do have to take on board all of those things that a SaaS company might have already covered off for you. And that is something not to sort of underestimate. So yeah, if you get it right, though, you know, you can have a great success. And I think final thoughts for me is you've got to have a lot of passion to do this. You know, myself and Emily spent hours sat there with the members, talking to them, seeing what's going, what's not going. You've got to be brave, you've got to take some risks, and you've got to have some fun along the way, and there's some good stories which I can tell you about over a beer later on. But yeah, that's everything about our digital transformation. That's how we pick the sharp ideas over going after every idea, and that was our build journey. And we do buy a lot off the shelf, so if anybody's trying to sell anything, let's have a chat. But thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mark. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Oh, good.
Yep.
Hi. I'm Kate. I work for Secret Escapes.
Oh, hello.
One of the things I think any digital transformation, whether you buy or build, is failing fast and trying to learn quickly. And learning from failure is, like, I think, the most important thing to do in digital transformation. So what was the biggest fail in this, and how did you react to it, or what did you do to remedy it, or what have you learned from this as a failure that you will incorporate in future projects?
Yeah, good question. I think our biggest failure was we didn't quite get our MVP scope right. We started off with just being able to buy coffees, right, and buy basic food from the kids menu. But the bit we missed was we got it all right. We didn't have Apple Pay on there because that was a pain. I'm having to think 2 years back. But the one thing we didn't get right was we skipped the bit about integrating with the members' discount, right? So some members at David Lloyd, if you're a platinum member, you get 10% or 20%. And most people do get 10 to 20% off their food and drink. It's just part of the package they buy. And we weren't able to offer that. And it was a real, although I said, obviously, if you get it 200% right, and they won't mind too much, we still did get orders. But I think just missing out on things that are really quite personal to people in terms of monetary was quite a big miss on that. And we didn't do Android either. So we actually frustrated the Android audience quite a little bit as well. So probably would do the same again, but it was just a watch point. If you just go down one platform route, yeah, to watch out for that. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Oh, one over here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Very good presentation. I'm interested in the change management piece. You mentioned about operations, and it might have been a little bit of a miss.
Yeah.
And I always think change management is obviously really important, but it can mean you sacrifice some speed as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in sort of what your approach was from a change management perspective.
Yeah, anyone that knows me might answer this slightly differently. But it's a fine balance, isn't it, of pushing on and sort of asking for forgiveness over permission, I think, a little bit. And, you know, it's different. I know I was talking to a lady here from HSBC, and, you know, in a highly regulated business, you probably can't take quite as many risks. Whereas we're a privately owned company, we were able to take a few risks. But, yeah, I think it's a fine balance around progressing with speed and sometimes, you know, asking for that forgiveness when you make mistakes or you need to catch up on something that you've missed. But, yeah, it's a real fine balance. It's quite hard to get it right. I'm not sure if that's a good answer or not. Basically, I got it wrong quite a lot, is the answer. So if anyone knows, let me know.
Mark, thanks for the presentation.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Hi, Josh.
Hi. Clearly, you're getting a lot of inspiration from speaking to people around the business and different teams. What external sources of inspiration did you get? How did you get that outside-in thinking to see what others in the industry might be doing, not just looking internally?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good question. If I'm totally honest, it was a little bit of taking inspiration from those unicorn delivery companies, actually. So in terms of like the actual experience, you know, of the look and feel of the app was taken from them. So, you know, the sort of the categories at the top, the quick checkout, the basket, the upselling the basket. Lots of those ideas were borrowed from, Deliveroo, the Costa Coffee app, which is great, by the way. And we copied lots of little ideas from different apps. But in terms of business process, I think we had to kind of learn that on the way, Josh, actually. We didn't have anyone that we could go to, because a lot of restaurants before COVID didn't really have an app, pubs didn't have an app. So we didn't really have many things to touch on in terms of that. And, I think that was one of our biggest lessons learned was the sort of service model. So just to quickly, a little bit more on that is, we underestimated the whole service model, right? Before, people would essentially wait for their coffees and stuff, and then we were asking the team members to take the coffees to their table. Well, that was an extra there and back they didn't have to do, and that changed the whole labour model. And then, we had to think quite a lot about some of the impact that the app brought. So it brought benefit, but it also brought quite a lot of operational challenges as well, and almost like a rethinking of how we run the restaurants operationally.
Mark, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.